that's weird. It started all over, and then I realized I have the screen open on another channel or on another tab. I was like, why did my intro just restart itself? Yeah. That's why I have YouTube running in the background. So welcome back to an unorthodox fantasy football universe. We are continuing on, actually concluding the pre-draft portion of our roster audits. We've got a whole bunch of these. These will be 12, I think we did. I know Jesse's got a whole bunch more. Jeremy's got a whole bunch more, but this is, we don't want to cram any more than 4 into a show. And this is pretty much all we could get done before the draft stuff starts. So we're going to be looking to wrap up all the draft stuff. And then sometime next week, if you haven't gotten yours done yet, we will be getting back into some more of them. Not sure how many. We're going to see, we got a ton of them. Like, I got, I think, 40 on the main account, and then you guys each got some. So we're going to get through as many as we can. But today we will have the last 4 of the pre-draft set. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So today, Casey Setchi is who we're starting with. But before we get into it, head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com. Check out all those rookie profiles we have that are about to get updates. And I forgot that next week they're going to get updated with draft capital and landing spots. So that'll be fun. You want to see me quickly? That'll be me rushing to update 153 profiles to add draft capital and landing spot. That'll all be me. But the fun part is you guys are each going to get to go in and type in your little blurb about what you think about the landing spot. But the problem is I wrote like half of them. So that means I'm going to have to go. I also thought about this with Player Profiler. I wrote 160 IDP profiles that I'm going to have to do a post-draft update next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, right? You're gonna be cramming a lot of work in as fast as time as possible. Be like, all right, I got 50 I gotta do. Let's get down to this. So
I'm literally I'm gonna get to write a post-draft blurb, like recap on literally every player drafted, with the exception of the offensive lineman, pretty much. Follow us, like I said, on any of the socials, Twitter, Insta, YouTube, all that crap. Like, follow, subscribe, all that. We respond to you as often as we can. Like I said, these were all follower listener questions, whatever you want to call them. We will get into it. The first one is Casey, 12-team Superflex half PPR. He has the 103, 105, 110, 205, and 303. So he's got lots of picks. He didn't have a question, so let's just look at it. The quarterbacks, he's got Justin Herbert, Anthony Richardson, Flacco, Lance, Ritter. Running backs, Brees, Zamir White, Javonte Williams, Chris Rodriguez, Sean Tucker. Wide receiver, he's got Olave, Chase, Cooper, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Treylon Burks, Justin Ross, Jamison Williams, Dontavian Wicks, JSN, Xavier Hutchinson, and his tight ends, he's got Pitts, Irv Smith, and Woods. This is a pretty well-rounded roster here for a guy who has 3 first-round picks. So what I think I'm looking to do, he doesn't really need the quarterback. I am probably going to take at 103, I'm going to take my choice of receiver. 110, I'm probably going to take whatever running back I want. 105 is the interesting pick here for me because at 110, 205, you can add 2 shots at running back. I think running back was his biggest loss here, or biggest need. What my first thought was, if I don't really love someone at the 105, maybe I'm trading the 105 for a veteran running back. So you still use the 103 on a high-end rookie receiver. 110, 205 gets you 2 running back rookies. And then the 105, if I don't love someone, maybe I trade that for a veteran. I'm not sure what you're looking at here. You think 105 gets you James Cook?
Oh, yeah. I think you would have to actually tier up to get the 105 for James Cook, sure, because he's going like 109-ish range is James Cook's value. So, yeah, if you're going to throw the one – like, I love James Cook, but if you're going to throw the 105 at me for James Cook, I'm fucking giving you it. Like, I'm wrapping that thing such a nice package saying, here's James Cook, enjoy this. Like, I think you could easily get him. What I was thinking about doing is I was taking the 103 and pairing it with JSN and going to get another elite wide receiver to pair with Jamar Chase, because you have Jamar Chase, you have Amari Cooper. Cooper's like a solid 2. Outside of that, you don't have a solid 3. And yeah, like I think Neighbors at 5 is perfect. Him or Odunze is going to be there, so whichever wide receiver you want. Marvin Harrison Jr. is likely gone, right? So
you're pairing. What'd you say? Sorry, I fucking got it.
I would try and do like a 103 plus JSN to go get one of the truly elite wide receivers, like to pair with Jamar Chase. See the cost see if that gets you in the building, see if you add a little bit. Because you have like two good, like you have Chase, he's a stud. You have Olave's a really good guy. He's another entry point. And then it's kind of Cooper's the solid, like he's a flex play for you. Outside of that, there's just a ton of wide receivers you're not likely playing. Mike Williams, injury question. We don't know about JSN. He's young enough where I think he's the perfect guy to tear up from. So
I think this is one where I'd like to see the 103 on the clock because I think if this goes the way, this could go one of two ways. If this goes quarterback with Williams and Daniels in a super flex, which you would think it could, I love taking Marvin Harrison and then having Marvin Harrison paired with JSN, I think gives you a huge, like people are going to see the name. Whereas if it's not, say Marvin Harrison goes, I don't think the 103 has as much luster as it would if it was Marvin Harrison. I think you get more for Marvin Harrison than random 103. 102, okay, so that helps. So
that's right there. Yeah, like I think that, but not everyone is on board with Marvin Harrison at 103. Like some people are neighbors, right? So I think just doing whatever works better for you in your individual league. You're going to know your league better than we are. So depending how your league managers value that 103, maybe they prefer Marvin Harrison more. Like you go that route, or maybe they just like the pick better. So I would go to one of those teams that has the truly elite assets at wide receiver, and I would use that 103 as entryway point. I'd put JSN in there. If they say they want Harrison instead, then just draft Harrison, right? Like you can make it work because I don't like your running back room outside of Brees. Like Zamir White, people like him, and I don't really get it with him. He's not going to be a volume like hog. I don't see them. Javonte Williams, super questionable, and then it's Chris Rodriguez and Sean Tucker. So your running back room definitely needs help if you want to be a contender. So I think you could use that 205, like we talked about, to go get whatever cheap veteran running back, the Connors, the Aaron Jones, those type of guys. Go put them on this roster because you need points. This team's really close to being a contender. You just need some points on this roster where you have a lot of the nice pieces. So if you want to just do the 103 draft the 105, you could do that. You could do the 110. You could do that too, where you get a bunch of young people and you could build this out for 25, 26. But if you want to go for it now, like go get the truly elite proven producer and then go get like an old running back. And I think that rounds out this roster so well where you have Kyle Pitts, the quarterback. Like you don't really need much on this team, honestly. Like you're pretty close.
I think the 103, you're right, is the pick to trade because it's going to hold more value in trade. Whether it be Daniels or Marvin Harrison Jr., it's a more valuable pick. So you keep the 105 because I think the 105, whether you get a Dunze or Neighbors, I think they have just as they're in the same tier as Harrison Jr. for me. He's not as far above them as everyone says, for me anyways. So I think I trade away the higher valued pick and I keep the one that's lesser valued that I think has similar upside. So, trade away Marvin Harrison Jr., who you're going to get 100 for, and just keep Neighbors, who is probably the same player. So,
and it's also half PPR. So like I think in these type of leagues, wide receivers don't have the same level of value they do in full PPR, right? So like they're going to be a little bit easier to get just because it's half PPR scoring. They're not going to score as much as the running backs in this format, right? So I think it's easier to go get those elite guys at the wide receiver position with half PPR scoring.
Hey, maybe a little less sugar for the kid next time.
She has zero sugar. She's just like that all day, every day. Let me tell you what.
Lovely. So then, so that's what we're doing early. So the 110, 205, you're going running back here, hoping you hit.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like I like Jonathan Brooks. He's the 112 for me. I'm fine if you really want to go spend a 110 on him. Depending.
Two of the top five is what you're aiming for, right? Two of the top.
Yeah, like you could because you could do the 205 running back as well too if you want to go that route. Like I just think this class it's super questionable with these guys in landing spots, so it's going to move around a lot. So if you want to go running back with those two guys, you could go do that route. I'd rather get the veteran producer because I kind of want to win now with this team, and I think this team has a shot to win now. So I would go get the veteran producer along with where I get a little bit of old guys. Like the 205 is the old guy I'm getting. The 110 is the younger player that I'm going to pick. Whichever one.
So my question for you then is, the 205 and the 110 are probably going to get a similar valued player. They're all dart throws. You're going to get one of the top five running backs at 205. Brooks, Wright, Corum. None of them are any more likely to hit than we got Lloyd, Benson, whatever the hell it is. Would you prefer taking one of those running backs at 205 and trading the 110 for some form? Maybe the 110 gets you James Cook?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a closer value range. Like you could, if you wanted to go get a veteran wide receiver like a Deebo Samuel, you could send the 110 for that range too. So if you wanted to go that route, I get a little bit like iffy with these running backs, the older running backs spending the 110 just because it's the same kind of hit player. but like the perceived value difference on the 110 and 205 is massive, right? Just because of how people do rookie drafts. So I think you need to take that into context. But yeah, like I like the idea of what you're talking about doing, where you're going to make that trade, see what's available at the 110, see who has players that are like they're using the trade block, use that. See if there's somebody you like at that range. You can flip the 110 for that, do that too, and then take your favorite rookie running back at 205 or whatever player it is. Like you could also like, I mean, it's the tight end available. You could do Bowers at 105 if you really want to. I would not with this roster because you have Kyle Pitts. So like I'm just running the scenarios in my head, and overall, like I kind of like what this team's at going that route.
I think the key here is to wait, and as your draft gets closer, it's going to be move at least one of these first round picks for something. And, what, like you said, you're going to move one of them. I'm just, see what best offer you can get at the value. Like maybe you trade the 110 for something straight up. Maybe you get a haul for 103, but just, shop around and see what offer best fits you. And, you got to think it out. If you get this for the 103, but then what are my options here and there, and just fumble through it kind of and see what your best all around approach is. Keep a couple of offers and then decide and weigh your options. But I think one way or another, you're trading one of these picks.
Yeah, there's a ton of wide receivers in that 110 range who are like veterans. Like I know we talk about T. Higgins a lot. He's kind of undervalued. Maybe see if the 110 gets you into the T. Higgins discussion, and then you have an actual good wide receiver, where you don't have a question mark, right? Because the 110 is a bunch of guys with question marks. We like their profiles, but it's risky as hell with a lot of those guys. So like you could do that type of situation. It's just, use the market to see what your league has valued, who's on the trade block, make those moves. Get a couple hammers, like you get the veteran hammer 205, use the 103 to get you a younger hammer. And then you're looking at your starting lineup and you have like 5 or 6 guys that are true impact assets. And then that's how you become a certified contender with this roster.
All right. Next up, we have just a sec. I got to switch this over here. Dan Turner FF. He is 12 team, 1 QB, PPR, 4-point passing touchdowns. So that's really taking a shot out of the quarterback there. He is 102, 201, 402, 506. His questions: how does he get over the hump after 3 straight semis losses, all in or blow it up?
That's brutal.
So I am not holding this many quarterbacks. Like you have quarterbacks. You got Stafford, Allen, Richardson. I guess it's not that many quarterbacks, but in single QB, I would be looking to trade away Richardson because we'll get to the rest of the roster here. Running back: Roschon, Deonta Foreman, Kenneth Gainwell, Damian Pierce, Ken Walker, Zach Evans, Izzy Abanaconda. Wide receiver: Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, Bo Melton, Parker Washington, another JSN. I think he's been on 9 of these rosters so far. And Puka. And tight end, you got Kittle, Juwan Johnson, Mayer. I think the first thing I'm doing here is trading away. I don't think you're going to get it for Stafford. If I have to, I'm trading away one of Allen or Richardson. I don't care which. I think they're both similar. Richardson's younger. I'm trading one of them away for an elite running back. And I know you're thinking, oh, that's stupid 1-for-1, but this isn't super flex. It's 1 QB. If you can get someone to give you, I don't know, who's a running back you want to take 1-for-1 here?
I'm going for one of the young studs. Like I'm not going to send him for an old guy. Like I'm just not going to do that.
No, I know, but like, so we're thinking James Cook is young, but we're thinking higher than that. Breece Hall, you're not going to get.
Yeah, you could maybe try Jahmyr Gibbs in that range of type player. Maybe
I was thinking that's too
high. It's tough, man. I know it's tough. So this is the problem with one quarterback, because when you have Allen, like even in 1 QB, he's devalued, but he's such an impact player for your starting lineup. It's so hard to get adequate value for him, right? Because he's giving you a massive advantage, even in 4-point passing touchdown. That's rushing. So he has like the 2 biggest rushing edge quarterbacks, like Richardson and Josh Allen. If Richardson hits this year, you have just certified stud. So I would go to teams that have a significant quarterback need, like say they're starting the Staffords, the Geno Smiths, those type of guys in 1 QB. See if you can get one of their truly elite players. Like that's what you do with Josh Allen. Maybe they're not going in the top 2 rounds in 1 QB, but like you just go and shop and see what you can get you, because man, I'd have a hard time selling Josh Allen for like a Saquon Barkley or something, even in 1 QB. Like I would just rather have Josh Allen personally. But this is just all about knowing your league market and how they treat the 1 QB, because you have 2 of these guys. I'm assuming basically last year he took Richardson early, would be my guess with this roster, because otherwise, if you had Allen already, I don't know why you would draft Richardson that early in rookie picks last year. So that makes me think like even though it's 1 QB, they still value it. Or maybe he picked up Richardson in the trade. One of 2 things. Like that's the only way that I would go with Richardson if I had Allen, because I wouldn't even draft him at 1 QB because I had Allen, right? So I'm assuming that you or your league mates value him early. So I just see the best deal you can get for him. And he's worth more than Richardson because he's like the QB1, right? So then
I'm trying to think through this.
It's tough, man. 1 QB is difficult because of how leagues treat them.
Okay, so I'm bringing up the Fantasy Pros Dynasty running back rankings. You're not getting Bijan. You're not getting Brees. Gibbs, I don't think you're getting Gibbs or Taylor either. You could probably get CMC, but do you want to go the older route? I think your best bet here is if you believe in one of ETN, Kyron, or HN. I would be going with HN or ETN, I think, but I don't know. Yeah. What do you prefer here? Do you want to go assuming you can't get Bijan, Hall, Gibbs, Taylor, do you want to go the CMC route or pick your poison of ETN, Kyron, HN, Rashad White?
If you give me CMC, I will take CMC in 1 QB. Like you would have, say, like you trade Anthony Richardson for him. You have Josh Allen, CMC. You have such an advantage with those 2 starting spots over the rest of your league. Like you seriously like are pushing yourself into contender mode with just those 2 guys. And then you're rounding out with Puka. You have Kittle. You have Devonta Smith. You have T. Higgins. Like that's how you get the championship because he says he missed it the last 3 straight years in the semis, right? So go get the one guy that pushes you over the edge. And it might be a 2-year window, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's so narrow. If you want to get a Chan, go for it. If you want to go get Kyron, like I get it. There's a little bit more risk with Kyron. But yeah, if I'm going for a running back, I want a certified, truly difference-making asset. Maybe you get Jonathan Taylor if you like Jonathan Taylor in that offense. I'm not so sure with, Richardson being the rushing quarterback, and I don't really want to pair Richardson and Jonathan Taylor just on my roster that way. Yeah. But like, I'm going to get a difference-maker running back. I'm not going to do it for anybody else. That's not going to give me at least upwards of 20 points a game. Like, I need somebody who can hit that threshold. So like, I don't want the ETNs, like, because I don't see him hitting that ceiling. Like, I need a guy that can get the ceiling if I'm going to go for a running back. Like, I'll do the McCaffrey thing. I'm okay with the age, but I know that's not for everybody. So you have to be willing to accept that.
This is one of the rare ones where all you can do really here is just trade the young quarterback for the aging guy. But so I think first would be to try and trade one of Allen or Richardson for Bijan, Brees, Taylor, Gibbs. Assuming you're not going to get any of those done. I guess this is where you just go, like I said, young quarterback for the aging running back, and you push, that's got to put you over the top here. Then you still have Stafford if your quarterback gets hurt. You got plenty of talent here, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't blow it up. The question is all in or blow it up. Like, I'm not blowing
I'm not blowing it up.
No. Yeah, no, like his question just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you blow up this roster? You're super close. You have a lot of young assets, and you have the 102, so you're getting a stud wide receiver at 102, right, on top of it too. So you're getting another guy to insulate this roster with Puka, T. Higgins, Devonta Smith. You just need, with Keenan Allen, you have another guy that's top 20-ish. You need another impact asset starting a wide receiver or a running back, a true difference maker on this roster, and I think that's how you push this roster over from certified contender to championship caliber contender. Like, you need to get a truly impact asset. However you go about doing that, that should be your main priority this offseason.
Yeah, because the 102 is probably Neighbors or Dunze.
Yeah.
The 201, you're going to get a running back unless you want to take a quarterback there, and then at least you have a young quarterback to replace. But I don't think that's your priority. Yeah, the end here, the best option for me, as scary as it seems because he could retire at any minute, is trade Allen or Richardson for CMC and go for it. But you still, like, you use your picks. If you use your picks, you can still have enough young players here where if, CMC retires, you still have some young assets and you're not a dead roster with, 100 old players on it. So that's my approach, I think. Like I said, you aim high, go for the top 4 running backs. I don't think you're going to get it done. Never know. Josh Allen, you might do it for Josh Allen because they just,
it's tough, man. Like
name, but in single QB, I can't see why I never trade any position player for a quarterback in single QB. It's not worth it. I'll stream position.
Yeah, it's the trade market's just usually not there, so it's really difficult. Like, I would personally rather have a Josh Allen just on my roster, even though I'm not going to be able to trade him for this type of player.
Yeah,
but like the impact he provides to your roster is so significant. Outside of McCaffrey, it's basically like him. Even because it's 4-point passing TD, like the touchdown passes are devalued, so the rushing upside gets kicked up more. So that just helps out Allen even more in that way. So yeah, you just got to figure it out with that way and just go there because
I feel like this is a trade you could get done in a redraft single QB league, but I feel like most dynasty single QB leagues, dynasty players aren't stupid enough to overvalue QB. But like I said, CMC is probably your ultimate value here. Can you think of anyone else?
Yeah, like you could go look at.
You want Barkley?
I don't want to do Barkley. Like I worry about what his upside is with Hurts on that offense. I think he's going to have a super high floor, but like I don't think he's pushed over 20 points per game. Like I think that's a really high range of outcome for him, and I just don't see it happening. He's also just to that point in his career, he's not the player he once was. Like his athletic upside's kind of diminished now, where he's more of a complete running back. It's just, yeah, I like Barkley a lot, but like I would much rather just have Allen. And I mean, if you got to see if you can get a plus on top of it, then we're talking, but it's one QB. Teams are going to struggle with that. So yeah, like that's why I'm saying go find a team that has a quarterback need and sell like Barkley, or sorry, tell them Allen or Richardson pick and like make a deal happen.
Next up, Matt Bennett 22. We have a 12-team half PPR, another single QB, non-tight end premium. He is the 111, 112, 201. So he is the 11, 12, 13, and then the 301. Time for a rebuild. And should he move one of these QBs for a flex, just like we suggested before? I definitely think I'd do in that here. But so the QBs, we got Murray, Hurts, Trey Lance, Sam Howell. The time you should have traded Sam Howell already. That's the problem. The time to trade Sam Howell was 6 months ago. Running backs, he's got Penny, Pollard, Swift, Gibson, Mitchell, Javonte, Herbert, Ford, Bigsby. So he's got a lot of running backs there. None I particularly care for. Wide receivers, he's got Rice, Cooper, Curtis Samuel, Devonta Smith, Wandale, Jamison Williams, Dontavian Wicks, JSN, Kadarius Toney. Once again, only one or two I really like, but a lot of names there. Tight end, Darren Waller, who might be retired. Pitts, Chigo Okonkwo, and Tucker Kraft. Time for a rebuild. I don't necessarily know if it's time for a rebuild here. It's definitely time to start combining some of these assets to try and, pair together a Swift and a Pollard and try and get something. I'm definitely looking to move off of one of the quarterbacks, but he's got some talent here. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah. This is like the middle of the road team that I hate to have, where you're good enough to get into the playoffs, but you're not good enough to be like a true championship caliber team, where you're kind of stuck in the middle with a lot of these assets. And you have a few building block assets, like you have Pitts, you have Rice, your running backs. Like that is a significant problem with a lot of those running backs because I don't see it with Swift or Pollard, and then it's just a lot of guys.
Neither do I. That's why I'm selling them.
It's rough, man. Yeah, I'm trying to get younger. I'm trying to get into draft picks. I'm trying to take, and one QB, I'm trying to take the 111, 112 move up as far as I can in the draft, or push them into more like, veteran players. Just because you're talking basically the 205 through 207 range in the draft, and that's a lot scarier than it is in Superflex, right? So all that stuff gets devalued and pushed back. So I would just try to move for impact assets that are younger. And if you can't, like I'm just kind of tearing this stuff down. I'd keep Rice. I'd keep Kyle Pitts. Darren Waller's retired. He officially retired. So
did he retire? When did that happen?
I think it happened today. You have Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. Pick whoever has more value. Trade the other one. Like whichever the league values more, they're similar. I personally think it's Hurts, but who knows? People love Murray. So you move him, you keep it, and you have those three building block assets where you got to retool this running back room because I don't see how this running back room is going to get you anywhere. It's just going to keep you in sixth place for like 4 years straight. So it's rough. Like this, as sad as it sounds, like I'm probably gonna start tearing this roster down for 25 and 26.
Well, I'm selling every big name here. Like I think Hurts always worries me. Rushing quarterback Murray. I'm fine if you want to sell both quarterbacks here for the price and just start rebuilding because it's single QB. You can always get a quarterback. I'm selling Pollard and Swift and Javonte and any of the other running backs as high as I can. I'm fine selling Cooper, Devonta Smith, JSN, even Kyle Pitts. I think I'm not 100% sure or convinced Kyle Pitts is going to turn it around this year. Kirk Cousins, I guess, but I don't know. There's not a player on this roster that I don't think is untouchable for the right price. And I'm just looking to flip here. And, every single trade I make, I'm going to trade away one player and I'm going to try and get back a young player and a decent pick. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to stack young assets.
Take those late first. See if you can push them at 25 or 26. Like, it's sometimes people will do it where you're like, all right, on the block for a future 25 first, right? So you have the hidden upside. It just goes higher. You can go that route. But yeah, like you have a few young players. Devonta Smith's kind of in that middle age, but he's young enough. It's like Rice, Devonta Smith, they're solid. JSN's questionable, but he's young, so he has that hidden cachet value. And then Pitts, like we've talked about Pitts a lot of times, like his value will tank if he doesn't hit this year, but he has a significant upside to be the tight end one, so it's there. And I just don't like the running back room. The running back room really has you sitting in the middle ground Same thing with the wide receivers, but they're still like a lot younger. They have more value than these running backs. So like that's more my problem with the running back.
He finished second last year due to some scheduling luck. Points 4 and max points, he's middle of the pack.
Yeah, this is a team that if I saw this team just in a league, I'd be like, they're 6th place, 100%. Like, so last year was probably the year where it went all right for you, played out right, and you're like, all right, this is championship, and it didn't hit. So now you kind of have to focus and shift into either tearing it down or finding your way to get into the premium assets. Maybe someone is coming off these older assets like we talked about McCaffrey. Go see what Rashee Rice plus can get. You know what I'm saying? Go find a way to get yourself out of the middle, because being in the middle is the worst place to be in Dynasty, because you could find yourself in this position 4 straight years in a row. And then before you realize that your team's old and you don't know what to do with them. So you kind of have to just pick a direction. You either have to get younger, go take the upside of the picks, or you have to go get older and push in for contention. But you have 3 picks in the top 13. So like use that to your advantage. Like you just have to pick a direction with this team, because it feels so stuck in the bud with this team. Like you have enough pieces that are young enough you can move them, but you just have to be active with this team to get them going one way or the other. Like this, like that's why when I saw this team, I was like, oh gosh, like this. I've had teams like this that you're just sitting with them and you don't know what to do.
You sure Moeller retired today? I see he got divorced today.
Oh, maybe not. Somebody said something about it, but I guess it wasn't from one of the main guys.
It looks like he's trending, but it looks like whoever Kelsey Plum,
yeah, that's his wife, yeah, or ex-wife.
Not anymore.
Yeah, somebody said like I might have been trending towards divorce or sorry, whatever it's called, retired, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know if he necessarily wants to retire now. It seems to me like he's got some extra time on his hands. So
hey, maybe he can play. Maybe he can get a football again.
Yeah, I think this one's easy for me. I'm taking every single asset because I don't think he really has a young, high upside player that I want. Like he doesn't have a Bijan or a Gibbs, a guy like he doesn't have that building block piece unless you're really convinced with Kyle Pitts. Like, I don't know. I'm selling all the players that I think I can get max value for, and I'm probably holding on to some guys like Javonte Williams, JSN, Jameson Williams, hoping that in season their value is going to rebound a little because their value is not much. Even Rashee Rice, I think that's one I'm going to hold off on him for a little bit until we see how long the suspension is. And then it's like Kamara. The second they announce it's only 2 games, he instantly gets more valuable. So, but I'm looking to get max value on every player I can here and get younger and get more picks. This one's pretty easy, I think. This is a middle of the pack team at best.
Yep, they're just kind of stuck. So, like, the highest value guy on this roster is Kyle Pitts, and then it's probably Devonta Smith, and then it's Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then Rashee Rice. Like, those are the 4. And then if you want to include Kyler, maybe Kyler and Hurts, those guys are right in that range. But, like, outside of those guys, the 4 or 5 guys that we talked about, like, there's just so many questionable guys, and, like, they need situations and everything to break right for them. And when you're counting on half of your roster having to break right for you, it's usually not going to work out. So, like, that's kind of my issue with this team.
This is the definition of a roster I would never have because it reeks of someone who tried to hold on for one last kick for too long. And now they got stuck with a half dozen players who are all past their expiration date, like Howell, Pollard, Swift, I guess, rebounded a little bit. Gibson, Eli Mitchell, Javonte Williams, Herbert, Ford. Like this just seems like guys who all had significant more value this time last year. And I think you got caught holding on to a few guys who hit the cliff. So time to rebuild.
All those running backs we just talked about, all were top 12. And some of them were top 5 before a certain point in time. So like if you would have played the value right with these guys, you could have sold them off for like better draft picks or better players and put them in the other ones. Like you kind of just have to play the market right with some of these guys. So like Swift and Pollard, someone's going to want them at some point. Like you'll be able to sell them going into the season. Javonte, I don't know what to do with Javonte, man. Like he's just, I hate the Broncos offense.
Hold him and hope his value rebounds.
Yeah, it's those are like the big 3. And then Pollard's just the older version of that. Like he's in a questionable situation and supposedly a good offense, but it could backfire for him. So you have a lot of sketchy situation running backs. And if you're in that situation, it's just tough. So yeah, you need to get out of them or figure a way to tear off of them. Like use picks to go on top. Like, Pollard plus the 111 or Swift plus the 112, like combine a few of these guys, Swift plus Gibson. And then Njigba, what does that get me? I'm spinning my wheels as many times as I can to get off of these guys and trying to like tier out or tier down. Just I would probably just blow it up, honestly, but I would be very active.
This goes back to why you should treat Dynasty like the stock market, though. I don't care how much I love these players. When I think they're at their peak value, I'm selling. I'm selling them all. Buy low, sell high. That's all I do. That's why my roster turnover is insane every year.
Yeah, you got to be active. That's what happens. Otherwise, you get stuck in the middle.
Okay, last one. SF Sumrall. 12-team Superflex non-PPR tight end premium 4-point passing touchdown. He has the 206, 310, 404, 406, 411. No questions, but he has Tua, Baker, Darnold, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones at QB. Running backs are Chubb, Etienne, Aaron Jones, Cook, Roshan Johnson, DeMarcado, P. Ryan, Parini, and Kenneth Gainwell. Wide receivers are A.J. Brown, Nico, Devonta Smith, Xavier Gibson. He's been on a lot of rosters in this series, and I don't know why people are... Anyways. Treylon Burks, Darius Slayton, Juwan Jennings, D-Hop, Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, Parker Washington, and Justin Shorter. Followed up at the tight end by Trey McBride, Dalton Schultz, Brevin Jordan, and Luke Musgrave. Leave me alone. It was 1 o'clock in the morning when I typed up some of these graphics, so fuck off. I don't know. So he's got decent quarterbacks. I feel like he's in a super flex league playing with two QB2s. He's got three QB2s is the problem. He has no QB1 and 3 QB2s. His running back room is also like, I feel like he's got Cook's his best running back, and I feel like Cook's a low end one. So he's got some older guys, a whole bunch of RB2s. He's got Nico and Devonta Smith, and then it falls off really badly. And then he's got Trey McBride. So he does have some talent. I just feel like he has a lot of mid-range talent and not a lot of elite. So.
Yeah, like the wide receiver room's good because you have AJB, you have Nico Collins, you have Devonta Smith is your 3. So that's a solid core to build around, right? Trey McBride's the tight end one. Like you have that guy. And then the running back room, you don't have a top 5 running back. And that's the biggest issue is Aaron dipped on us. But yeah, you need like Cook and Etienne is a solid like 1-2 that'll get you there. It's just the quarterbacks, man. You're falling significantly behind with the combination of Tua and Baker or Tua and Jones. Like Tua can be a nice QB2 for you, but you're forcing a QB3 into a QB2 situation. You need a QB1. Like you need to make that happen. So with the 206, you don't really have the picks for it either. That's the problem. And they're so hard to get those guys outside of that. So you need to figure out a way to either improve your roster a little bit more because you're taking a significant hit against the truly elite quarterback teams in this league. Like if you're going against, like we talked about, Richardson and insert Patrick Mahomes or whatever it is, you're giving up possibly 20 points a week in those matchups to those guys. And that is significantly hard to overcome. So you either need to improve your running back, wide receivers a little bit more, or you need to upgrade your quarterback room. Like you need to make that happen because you're just chasing such an edge at quarterback with those guys. And I like Tua, he's fine, but people should have sold him when we were talking about him top 5 last year. That would have been the perfect time to sell him. Now people are kind of off of him. So
same idea.
His value is going to rebound. Yeah, Daniel Jones is basically worthless in Dynasty right now. So if, he's starting, which hopefully they don't draft a quarterback, and then you have another starter, you can sell Daniel Jones or Tua. Like you have a lot of guys that are just depth quarterback, and I kind of hate that. So Drew Lock, you hopefully have the Giants starting quarterback, hopefully, right? And then somebody gets injured, and then you sell those guys to them, right? You just get off of those guys. But I like the roster for the most part. I'd say it's like 85% there. You just need to do a couple other things because you're close. The nice thing about it is your running backs are young enough where you can still survive another year with those guys. And the wide receiver room, it's just, I look at those quarterbacks and I'm like, it's going to be rough for you to win a championship with those quarterbacks. Like real tough.
I think I don't know what I'm going to do here. Tear down from Trey McBride, I think. See if you can trade him for a pick and Kyle Pitts or something, because he's insanely valuable right now. And I don't think he's as good as his value dictates, but because you've got to move something here to make up some value. You don't really have, like if you want to trade a couple of your veteran running backs, but Jones's value is low. Chubb has no value. Roshan is a wait and see. The quarterbacks, you've got 2 guys with depressed value, one with Baker in average value at best, and you've got 3 solid receivers, but like Nico's probably overvalued, and I would say sell high. I don't know. I think I'm starting to flip some of these guys. You pick whoever you don't believe in. The guys that you think are being overvalued right now, probably Trey McBride because he can't be as good as his value would indicate. I'm probably starting to flip some of these guys. What?
Yeah. No, I'm just giving you a hard time with that. I would say the 2 running backs you can move at significant value are your 2 best running backs. It's James Cook and it's Travis Etienne. those guys can get you into the discussion of quarterback. If you pair Tua with James Cook, how far does that get you like at a quarterback upgrade, right? Like you kind of pair whatever one of your quarterbacks, it's obviously Tua because he holds by far the most value. Like I'm trying to pair those guys to see if I can tier up at quarterback. So I at least solve that problem.
Do you take Justin Herbert?
I would, yeah. If I can get Herbert done with that deal, I'm smashing
Lawrence?
that deal for Herbert. Yep. Like I just want out of Tua. Like that's what I'm trying to do with Tua. I'm trying to significantly upgrade him because Tua's going in what, like the third round. Those guys are like Herbert's like a late first. Lawrence is a mid-second, so I think that could get you into Lawrence if you really wanted to.
I think Tua's a second. Tua's closer to Lawrence, I think, than.
Or if the other way you do it is if you go for an early pick in the draft class, you can, like I don't think it's gonna get you Caleb just because how people view Caleb. But if you want to go into the 102, like can those guys get you the 102 and you pick your quarterback that way to upgrade your room? Like you get Jaden Daniels and take the shot that way. Like I think you could possibly go that route. It's just it depends how your league mates view those early picks. But I think Tua just is kind of the guy that leaves you stuck in the mud, where he's a better QB2, but if he's the guy you're dependent on in your quarterback room, it's real problematic because you can never count on him. He had like 17 points a game last year. Like that stuff's just like, it's fine. But especially in 4-point passing touchdown leagues, like he gets a significant hit in that league because he doesn't rush on top of it. So yeah, like I want a rushing quarterback on this roster with 4-point passing touchdown. So like I got to find my way into a rushing quarterback. Daniel Jones might be the key to that. If he's starting, he'll at least give you some upside there, but man, the floor is 0 with him. So you just got to figure out a way to move the quarterbacks around a little bit.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
No, I mean, he's got enough like veteran wide receiver producers. Like I like the wide receiver room a lot because he also has DeAndre Hopkins or Mario Douglas. Those guys are just points for you. So like you can count those guys as your wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, and you're fine. It's just, you just got to improve. Like you're almost there. I say you need about 10, 15% more to get there. You just got to figure out that quarterback situation. It's the only way to do it.
All right, and that concludes our last set of roster audits before the draft. Check back tomorrow. We are starting, I believe, at 2 o'clock. We're doing a mock draft, the last one before Draft Capital. Then we're back at 3:30 with some time bombs, veteran time bombs, who could lose value at the draft. Then we start live at 8 o'clock all night long with a shitload of giveaways. Go over to our Twitter and check it out. We have subs to pretty much every site. We have entries to every fantasy tournament on earth. So check back for that. Head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com for all our write-ups on some of the guys who will be drafted tomorrow. That's a wrap for this one. We will see you tomorrow pretty much all day long for the next at least 2.5 days or so. For Aaron and Jesse, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who sent in a roster. We will do more of these after the draft, but that's a wrap for now on Roster Audits.